Hello and welcome to our game with you as always on Thursday afternoons. I'd love to say it was a bright summer Thursday afternoon, but unfortunately it's not. It's dark, it's dreary, it's wet. It's the antithesis of championship weather, but we're here as always, sponsored by our great sponsors, Lottoland, and great sponsors to the show and to our game in recent months. Delighted to have Nisha with us again. Nisha, how you doing?
Grand, yeah. What's the crack? How's it going?
We won't focus too much on what happened last weekend because we're 5 days out from the Munster final and obviously 4 days out from the MacDonagh and from the Leinster final as well. But just on that Munster final, Nisha, Saturday night, I've said it a couple of times already. The quality was down, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I loved everything about this. I thought the mistakes even made it more dramatic. It was a crazy evening. I was only chatting Sambo McNaughton yesterday, actually, and he just said it was the greatest sporting occasion he's ever been at, or the most exciting and entertaining one he's ever been at. And that seems to be a general theme from anybody that was there in attendance in particular. It was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was mad. It was crazy, like watching it live and all, like, and the drama, the mistakes, like everything did add to it. And then going to penalties, like whether you agree or disagree, I don't think it should be won on penalties, won or lost on penalties. Not a final anyway. Not a hurling final. I just don't think, because technically the result of the match was a draw, but Cork get the trophy, so I don't like that. But what added to it as well, because of the mistakes and the lack of quality, like obviously the wind, there was a few bad wides you wouldn't really be kind of expecting, like especially from O'Connor there as full forward with Limerick. Like he got 1-2, I think, in the first half, but 2 bad wides. But the referee, like he just like I watched it back and I was taking notes the second time and I was going, God, maybe you're better off actually remembering matches rather than watching them to analyse them. Like, just remember how magic it felt, how good it felt. Terry Funk actually said that about his wrestling career. Someone on Dark Side of the Ring was trying to re-show him a match. He says, no, I don't want to watch that. I'd rather remember it. And he's right, because I think it was the 16th minute before Limerick got a free.
That's
and
right.
in my notes, I had at half time, what does Cian Lynch have to do to get a free? And what's the ref at? Like,
did you see the picture of Lynch after with the helmet off? Like, and as somebody commented online, it was like, and he had a helmet on throughout the game. He was blood here, all scrapes here. Like, so the shoulder to the back, like, it was amazing. Now, but the one thing, in fairness, throughout the first half, he was consistent, as in he never blew. So at least
he may as well have not been there.
Yeah,
and
it was
anyone.
Crazy.
This is the thing as well, for anyone that thinks, oh, hurling is too fast and we need 2 referees. Saturday was a prime example of this is why you couldn't have 2 referees, because then extra time, a different referee, there was things being called that weren't being called. So if you have one ref at one side and one ref at the other half, sure, these lads, the lads on one side get frees that the other lads aren't. So it'd be absolutely ridiculous. But even now, right, Barrett finished his goal beautifully. That goal was class.
It was lovely, wasn't it?
But Horgan was getting absolutely bet around, and he eventually kind of just like let go of the sliotar towards Hayes, who got pounced on, who again let go of the sliotar, and it just bounced lovely for Barrett, leathers it into the goal. It was class. It was so like it was fierce, exciting, and dramatic, and all that. And yeah, the quality mightn't have been brilliant, but and actually another thing as well, Cahalane was very, very lucky to get away with kicking.
Sure, another day you get a red card for realistically, you know.
Yeah, and he did it, and he did it again. Then an extra time, he lost his third, and even Marty Morrissey goes, I wouldn't be too sure about that stamping from Cahalane or whatever. You're going, Jesus, like, or. Geez, Barry Nash pushed somebody over the sideline.
It was crazy. That was one that really stood out for me now, because it was literally like shunting a lad out over the line.
It was Healy. And then Brendan Cummins goes, a test of strength there, you know, and Healy just didn't come out on top, give him a test of strength. It's a hurling match. He fouled him. He shoot him with it. But anyway, look, there's about 101 talking points because it was so dramatic. And in a way, it's exactly what you want, but like, you know, for pure hurling, it kind of wasn't either, like, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
just on the penalties, I'd agree with you. I don't like them. I honestly don't believe it added to the drama the other night. I honestly don't.
I actually thought it killed the drama.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
sucked
And
the life out of it, I thought.
I thought even in last year's All Ireland final, I was like, going to extra time. It was like it's a pure lottery, and it was probably less of a lottery the other night, but I thought it was going to be a lottery. But then when it went to penalties, it was a pure lottery. And I thought Keane Lynch said something interesting. He's just saying, given how artistic hurling is and how creative it is, just have lads standing up hitting the penalties and no team element to it whatsoever. I thought that was a very valid point. But what's the best alternative? The calendar may change in a couple of years, but it's not going to change next year, and it's obviously not going to change for the rest of this year. So what's the best alternative? If we don't finish with penalties on the day, what's the best alternative if it's still level after extra time?
I'd like to see, because like on Keane Lynch's point, like the artistry and all this kind of stuff, I'd like to see first team to get 3 points or a goal.
Okay.
I think I'd like something like that, because I saw some people saying next score wins, and you're kind of going, next score wins, but then you see it would be, if it was next score wins, imagine it'd be hell for leather manic, and you know, because everybody would want to get the ball, and it might be loose and reckless and all, but great, it'd add to it. It'd be more hurling related than penalties. I just think.
Junior Z hurler up, or Junior Z or Junior Z. I'd say call it Junior Z. He says, lads, what do we think? I love penalties, but instead of those, first team to score 2 scores in a row, any score. Yeah, I like that. I like the first to 3. It also means that if Nisha's team go 2 points to no score up, my team maybe go bald-headed for a goal and could rob the game. It might also take a wind out of it, even though I thought the other night was mad. Both teams played a lot better against the breeze. And even thinking that Keane Lynch was brilliant against the breeze in the first half. Kyle Hayes looked like he was going to control the game. And both were somewhat peripheral, I'd say, thereafter. And like you thought maybe Limerick were going to be able to kick on with the breeze, but it didn't materialise. It was funny like that.
Yeah, and that was something again I'd written down, was like, Barrett has been unreal, but Kyle Hayes has gotten on an awful amount of ball. And then Keane Lynch, like the catches Keane Lynch was making, like the second one in particular was around the 24th minute or something. And I actually out loud, like even when I rewatched it, I just went, oh my God, like that. Like,
you were just like, oh lad.
Lad. It was he was unbelievable in the first half, him and Kyle Hayes. But then, like, it's funny saying Kyle Hayes was he marking Barrett? Was he not? It's hard to tell on the telly. Barrett was brilliant for Cork as well. This is why I wanted him in the league team of the year. You see,
yeah.
And you were going to get it, but because see, playing into the breeze, you see, and the way Limerick were set up, it suited the forwards where like the ball could kind of hang up and they could flood their backs. And they were getting the space that they were making, that they could create between the full forward line, half forward line, and midfield was unbelievable. And then, like, so when they went long and diagonal inside the lads, then Tom Morrissey was running on for the next pass. Tom Morrissey again, and Reedy. That's what they were doing in the first half. They were brilliant in the first half.
Yeah.
And then kind of totally petered out, and eventually obviously had to be taken off. Like, but they actually were taken off, I think, together. The two of them ran off at the same time. But they totally petered out of the game, where it was the kind of game where you were going like, this is the Keane Lynch and Tom Morrissey show here. And Aidan O'Connor was doing really well. But then when them lads went off, Galland then decided, now from a Limerick point of view, Galland then like nearly took over the game. Like he was on, like, talk about a target man making the ball stick and all. And the pass he gave, now it was probably a free into Cork down the other end, but the ref decided to give a free out, long free, and Galland gives that inside of the foot pass, and O'Brien that was unbelievable as well. But yeah, like Hayes, I actually thought Brian Hayes for Cork was really good, even though he didn't light up the scoreboard. But like,
different type of role, wasn't it? Different type of role the other night.
Just the amount of ball he got, like making it stick, creating things, like just drawing tackles, drawing hits, he just, I really like him. I really like Healy. Connolly was quieter than usual, but off and came back on again. But yeah, no, just a mad game of hurling, just a crazy game of hurling. But technically, the Limerick penalties, like, again, if you look at them, the way when the lads were striking, they were kind of static striking. So like their momentum was lost. So whatever power and momentum you're building going into just like from a forward who's taking frees and taking penalties, that as they were striking, they had stopped. Yeah. So then it makes it kind of easier to save, and it's, you have to, like, especially a good goalie, you would have to be unbelievably accurate and rifle it down bottom corner somewhere, which wasn't happening, obviously. So technically, Limerick penalties weren't good either at all.
Yeah, just a comment in there about Will O'Donoghue. One of the viewers just said that he could have had 3 or 4 points from play easily, and he could have had. Patrick Power just says William O'Donoghue really needs to work on his shooting. He could have had 3 or 4 points easy from play if he could shoot, and he took on a shot. It's not really his role,
No.
and I don't think he looks terribly comfortable in it. He's that kind of war horse, that kind of workhorse out around the middle. But he was almost. I'm not going to say he was let have the ball, but I think they were happier for him to have the ball going forward than other players. He refused a couple of shots even and gave kind of a ball that was maybe a pass that was not really advantageous, but it was just passing it off to somebody else. And he definitely could have ended up with 2 or 3 points easily if his radar had been on. But again, it's not really his role. Just on Galan, Nisha, right? You can talk about all the skills in the game. Is the ultimate skill and like the number one skill in hurling been able to win your own ball or been able to deal with possession no matter what way it comes to you? Because when push comes to shove in a game, that's what you have to do. It's the real hard won ball. It's the fella that can go up and catch a ball and win a free, or the fella that can go up and break a ball and something happens off it. Like when push comes to shove, all the other stuff is nice and the flicking and whatever. But when push comes to shove, is that the ultimate skill, being able to win your own ball?
Yeah, because like that was the difference between when Kilkenny were at their best. And you see, the other thing as well is like you can have all the game plans, you can have all the tactics and the nice style of play and all that, but there will come a point when someone's under pressure and they have to drive it up the field and it has to stay up the field.
Yeah.
And the lads who can win it, like you think back, like Owen Larkin, Colin Fennelly, Richie Power, Henry Shefflin, Eddie Brennan, they could all do it. They were all magic at it. They could all do it. TJ can do it still. But yeah, that's what I probably love the most about Glenn, is because he's not huge, but he's so clever and so bold and so good in the air. And even like for the goal, when he passed it, he just gets between his man and the sliotar and makes sure his lad isn't getting it. Yeah. So even if he doesn't win it, it's not coming back out. Like that's the big difference between the best forwards and then the good forwards. Like, yeah, that's what I think anyway. Yeah.
Fergus Butler had a comment in here, and I thought about it a good bit after. He just said, who would your 5 free takers have been from both teams? I go through my Limerick ones very, very quickly. Burns, Galan. I was very surprised Adam English didn't hit a penalty. He hits frees for doing and was still on the pitch. I'd probably have Nicky Quaid hitting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom Morrissey would have still been in my 5 as well. Hits frees for a hand and hits frees for Limerick. That would have been my 5. What about you? Any difference there? I know Barry Murphy has scored a few for doing, but do you know what surprises me there? Because unless it's a Conor Lahan, like who's a forward and is, an inherent and innate confidence about them and is used to it, Barry Murphy had played very little and only came on at the start of extra time. So that's why I thought that was an interesting one. Even Declan Hannon as well, because you know yourself, you can have a confidence from over years or whatever, but that can be eroded if you haven't played games. And Hannon and Barry Murphy had played very little game time. That's why I was kind of thought that was a bit peculiar. But what would your 5 be, and even for Cork as well?
Yeah, I was very surprised Hannon went up to take one. I kind of was going, God, that's bold. It's like, right, okay. But anyway. But Lahan, sure, doesn't he take the frees from Middleton or used anyway, definitely as well. Like, so yeah, it's like funny, and they were saying it in commentary as well, that Cork didn't put Horgan back in to take one, but Limerick did to put.
The only thing is that I can kind of understand it from a Limerick point of view. Like, Fitzgibbon has to score this. That's nearly all you're thinking about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, I definitely would have the goalies hitting them as well, because like just naturally the goalies should be able to hit it from that type of a distance harder than anybody else should be able to hit it, bar your specialist free / penalty taker. So like, I'd have gone, I'd have probably had. I was very surprised. Also, actually, sorry, how is Nicky Quaid doing what he's doing? How is he doing what he's doing this soon after the surgery? Sliding on his knees, jumping out, like saving shots, and I know whatever. But yeah, I'd have had him taking one. Diarmaid Burns. I'd go Diarmaid Burns, Nicky Quaid, Aaron Galan. I'd have had Morrissey as well, and then the 5th one. God, I don't know actually. God, God,
It mightn't have got to the fifth one if the four.
Yeah, it probably would be. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It probably would be Murphy then, like, because he does take him with Doon. Like, I suppose he hits him if he hits him with Doon, but or English, I suppose. Yeah. And then with Cork, I'd like me. I'd be going right. Horgan, Collins, Lahan, and Kingston. I would have said still, yeah. And then as a fifth,
if Tim O'Mahony was still on the field, I probably would have had him hit one. To be honest with you.
Yeah, someone who can just slap it, like.
Fitzgibbon obviously is started hitting frees now, and his was hit quite well. It was just a good save, to be fair.
Yeah, and again, like if he's taking the 65s, you must have some kind of a confidence in him that he can deal with the pressure.
Yeah.
Like. So yeah, Fitzgibbon I suppose would be my 5 then.
I have a comment in there saying that there's a common theme that all Offaly people hate Cork. Add them to the list, lads, and I'm with Tipperary. I definitely don't hate Cork. It's just I'd say it's more of a try-spitting. I'm shy since I haven't gone all in on them, but I do think the steeliness that I would have questioned in the past. Jesus, you couldn't have got more steel than you got the other night. Like the game for all intents and purposes. The game looked like it was going away from them in the second half at different stages, and you're just thinking Limerick are going to kick on here, and they just hung in and just made it really difficult, got right up in Limerick faces, made it hard to get on the ball, and just were absolute nuisances of themselves, and that's the ultimate compliment. So I definitely don't hate Cork, even though I see the contrary.
Even the time in a Barrett's goal as well, where you're kind of going, Limerick could pull away here, and then like Horgan was going for the goal, he gets stopped. Hayes was definitely going for the goal, gets stopped, and then Barrett just whipped on a class goal. Like, but
I thought Limerick forced the issue in the first half now, big time. I really thought they tried to force goals 4, 5, 6 times when they weren't necessarily on. I understand why, because it might seem Cork as somewhat mentally feeble after the last end. Like, geez, if we hit them for 2 or 3 goals here, maybe it was a tactic across the board. But I just thought they would have been. I thought they were forcing something that's not maybe totally natural to them, and they could have been level at half time if they tapped over what was on. You know, the goal O'Connor got. It probably was on, but he probably forced the issue, and it probably should have been saved. But I thought Limerick could have been level or a point or 2 down at the break if they just tapped over rather than maybe forcing the issue a small bit.
Yeah, like English's one is probably, wasn't it English where he shot from outside?
Even Hegarty as well. I remember Hegarty taking one on, and I thought he was really forcing the issue. When you're shooting from the 21, I think you're forcing the issue at county level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, big time. Even at club level now, like good goalies, are so much better. Like anything outside the 21 is a miracle if it goes in, or else.
Now the only thing I'll say at club level is that you won't score unless you shoot. So I would be, you know what I mean? There's some pissers, for the want of a better word, that go in because the shot is actually taken. A big bugbear of mine would be just take the shot or get it in there and see what will happen, rather than trying to force the perfect ball and then no shot and no opportunity for said pisser to happen if you get it.
Right, okay. Yeah. Hey, actually, on the Cork thing, and people often be commenting there, giving out that I'm always giving out about Cork. My prediction isn't far off now. I'm only one result away. I said Limerick could win the first game, Cork could win Munster, but now Limerick will win the All-Ireland. So I'm one away.
I said Cork could beat them the first 2 times, and Limerick could beat them in the All-Ireland. Go on quickly while we're here. Give me your top 6 at the minute in the All-Ireland. Well, there's 8 left. But give me your top 8.
An old school power ranking.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I'd still go Limerick top, because when they're playing their best, and in Croke Park, I think they'll just be very, very, very hard to beat. I think just whoever beats Limerick will probably win the All-Ireland, is the way I think it's going to be. So I'd go Limerick, Cork, Kilkenny. And then Tip, I'd say, then Galway and Dublin, I suppose.
Would you have Galway ahead of Dublin even after the Leinster final?
Well, you see, Galway beat Dublin in Parnell Park fairly easily, bar Dublin got the goals at the end to make it look a bit better. Like, Galway beat Dublin without scoring a goal.
Yeah.
And they were what was it, 12 or 13 points up at one stage with about 10 minutes left. So, like, you know, head to head, Galway, yeah. So
Yeah.
to have Galway 5th, Dublin 6th.
A former county manager sent me his power rankings there, and I didn't ask for him. He sent them to me independently. Limerick, Cork, Kilkenny, Tip, Galway, Dublin. So pretty much the same as you.
So you're saying I could be a county manager?
Possibly. It's funny, the way the game finished, as in on penalties, probably serves it up perfectly for if they meet later on in the year.
Yeah.
Limerick won by 16. This time they couldn't be separated. Limerick have a loss on their record, but it's not, you know, the record books won't show it as a loss. As in, they've. I put it this way: they played a final and didn't leave with the trophy. Whether they lost or not is another story. But I just think it'll be fascinating to see how Limerick react to that as well. And I wonder what Saturday night was like. And I'm sure they met up Sunday as well. And I'm wondering what that was like, because it's something that's totally alien to that group. And even having the 2 weeks now as opposed to the 4 weeks, the last 4 times they've won the All-Ireland, they've had the longer gap and they've been able to control and dictate. Whereas now, Kylie's probably heading up to Newbridge on Saturday to have a look at Kildare and Dublin. Do you know what I mean? It's a different kind of a thing. So it'll be funny. It'll be interesting to see how they react to that. Just quickly on the 2 games on Sunday, like Kildare, like how comprehensive has this MacDonagh Cup win been? Like in no way have they fallen over a line. They have, outside of the Kerry game, they have absolutely obliterated all before them, realistically. An average winning margin of 9 points in their 5 games that they won. Like that's as comprehensive as it gets.
And isn't it mad then Kerry got relegated?
Crazy, yeah.
Like
crazy.
So Kerry are going to be playing the Christie Ring and Kildare are going to be playing the Leinster Championship. And it's like in a matter of 6 weeks. Like so anyway, but they've been so good, like Brian Dowling and Richie Root there, like, you know, and the rest of the management team, like they've done some job. Because so they lose promotion in the league final to Down, then they lose
they were still promoted.
Or sorry,
they didn't win the trophy.
Yeah, don't get the trophy, you know, lose to Kerry in the first game, and you're going, are they going down this path again here now? And then to turn it around as quickly as they did, because like at the start of it, remember we were saying like, oh, you know, Laois, Carlow, Down probably, you know, it'll be them and then a fight at the bottom.
I'm bulling now. I'm bulling because I thought something weird might happen in the MacDonagh and I picked the wrong county. I picked the county that beat Kildare. Like what? You pick the county that wins the 2A and they end up in an almighty struggle at the bottom, and the county that loses the 2A final strikes through it. It's crazy.
And that's why it's so good. Like, and you know, actually, so like the Kildare forwards, just Crow Park suited them down to the ground, and like Sheridan is so good when he can be fully fit and all. Like he's so good. Like that goal he scored was brilliant. Like intercepting it and running the dummy, the finish, everything, right? But I know the Laois goalie pulled off an unbelievable save on him, right? But this is the goal. This is the difference between, right, Barrett's goal and then Sheridan. This is the top and the bottom. That should have been whipped on. As in the next step up, or for anyone watching at home or young lads or whatever, like, right? It was a brilliant save, unbelievable save. But the extra touch brings the goalie in. Just whip on it. Like he wasn't in the goal. But anyway, look, you'll be hoping now. And this is the thing. This is why I think they could be dangerous against Dublin, right? Now, I know, depending on how sober they are and if they're back from Cancun in time. Like I saw Frank Bass was tweeting you, asking you, were you coming to Cancun? So, depending if they're back on time for Newbridge, like their forwards could cause Dublin trouble, like real trouble.
You'd be expecting a high scoring game, wouldn't you?
Yeah. This is the thing. But then Dublin's forwards are really, really good as well. Like the Dublin's forwards are the best thing about Dublin. So high scoring game, you think. It just depends on how clued in and how screwed in Kildare are. It's a pity, and I think we said this last year as well. It's the MacDonagh thing, like while they're part of it, like why not? Like it's just an awful pity they don't have 2 weeks. You know, to get ready for it. If it's to be taken seriously, they probably should be given the buffer of enjoy it for the week, lads. Get ready the next week.
Yeah, 6 days is ridiculous, really, when you consider Sunday night was spent wherever. I know they were in Selbridge one night. You're only really getting back down to earth on Tuesday morning, realistically, like
Maybe.
because the best thing about winning is that couple of days after and all that comes with it, and boys going around wearing stupid sunglasses and whatever, going around wearing the bucket hats and whatever, and lads come wearing ridiculous jerseys and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of what you remember. And it was funny, I was chatting to David Qualter after he finished up with the baker's dozen. Like, he hardly missed a free. I think he only missed one. He finished with 13 points, and that was so important, particularly when they weren't going well, just to keep the thing taken over. But he was just saying that, 2 years ago when they were relegated from the MacDonagh, they were on the beer somewhere, and there was a load of them talking and saying, we are good enough to win the MacDonagh. And this is when they're going to be in Christy Ring the next year. So some of these things, like, I'm sure you're the same, like, there are conversations that happened on the beer. I wouldn't have been on the beer, but you'd be with lads that be on the beer, and you remember them. And you might come up to a lad and you'd be like that, and you remember when we said this or whatever. And that sort of stuff, I think that sort of thing is very, very important. But the 6 days, the 6 day turnaround is going to be so difficult. And I think Kildare is a saving grace for those preliminary quarterfinals this year, because otherwise there'd be no interest in them, and everyone would be saying it's an absolute joke that still happened. And listen, they shouldn't be still linked to the All-Ireland series. There's no point in saying any different. It lengthens out the MacDonagh Cup competition because it doesn't need to be finished as quickly. You can play it maybe with an All-Ireland semi-final or whatever, and it buys them way more time. And yeah, I think it's superfluous now at this stage, and it is mad to think that Laois and Kildare are still in the All-Ireland race, rightly or wrongly, when Waterford, Wexford and Clare and these boys are gone since the end of May. Like, last year's All-Ireland winners aren't still in the race, and a team that was in the Christy Ring last year is still in the race. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make much sense. And I suppose just quickly on the Tipperary game, I think Tipperary are minus 24 against Laois. Like, it's so hard for the loser, isn't it? It really, really is. You've been in losing dressing rooms, losing teams. Like, lads are having a bit of goes at each other when you lose. If you win by a point, there's nothing said. You lose by a couple, everything is said. There's all sorts of hangovers. It'd be very, very interesting to see if the same squad that went to Croke Park last Sunday is still in situ when they play in Portlaoise on Saturday. You wouldn't know, because I'm sure there's noses out of joint. That's just the nature of it. I was very surprised that James Duggan didn't see game time way earlier. I was very surprised that PJ Scully wasn't on way earlier. I thought they left their bench way too long. I would have been running lads in at 45 minutes when it looked like it was starting to slip away from them, to be honest with you. But how difficult is it to turn around that kind of Laois ship for a game and avoid what looks like them being absolute cannon fodder for Tip?
Well, like, this thing is, it's like they'll have to rewrite history because we haven't seen it yet. Yeah. It's just, it's sad, and it's just sad. Like, it's, even for Kildare, like, they've won their championship, but now they have to go out and play another match. It's like, why? Like, how? And I get they're like, oh, well, we have to make, it worthwhile as a competition and all that. It's just like, it already is a worthwhile competition. It's a brilliant competition. The competition
just on that, Nisha, it stands on its own 2 feet now. Maybe it didn't at the start, but it does now.
It should be a standalone competition where, like that, the final should be like, why wouldn't they do something like, right, the All-Ireland semi-finals are double headers. The Joe McDonagh's with one and the Christy Ring is with the other. There you go. Yeah. There's the 2 All-Ireland semi-finals. There's your package weekend. And then the Nicky Rackard and the Laurie Maher, their own thing. Or maybe it's a triple header with the under-20 final some Saturday evening.
Just on that, Nisha, as well, I'm sick to my teeth of this shite of not having games before other games. How is like, Gavin James, with due respect, I'm sure I'd probably do like a couple of his songs if I knew them, if I heard them. But like, how is there not another game on before the Munster final? Why have we gone away from this? Like, if someone's playing a few songs or whatever, it's basically the same as something being belted out across the tannoy. Whereas 15, 20,000 people will be looking at a game. And I don't know about you, but I loved going to the curtain raiser of a game, and whether it was a minor game or a 20 game or a senior B or whatever it was, and saying, geez, I remember seeing him 5 years later. I remember seeing him here, and you follow these lads, and it's hurling at the end of the day. You want to see more hurling. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, I think the argument with the minors was because of the change of the age, and it's why they took them out of Croke Park apparently as well, was that they thought it was too much pressure for lads of that age. So, but like, this is the thing. So you could play now right up to 20 years of age representing your county and never playing Croke Park for them, which is mad, actually. Like, when you think, like, the minor finals and the under-21 finals used to be in Croke Park there for a while. So, well, the minor always was, like, but, you know, so it's, yeah, I think they need to revisit that probably at this stage. But definitely, I think they should move, because the semi-final crowds, like, unless there are certain counties in them, like the 2 semi-finals are in Croke Park, and depending on the counties that are in them, they're not going to be sold out. So make them double headers. Get the extra 5 to 12,000 people in to watch Laois and Kildare. It'll add to it. I think just now at this stage, them competitions are strong enough, they're good enough, they're brilliant competitions. Let them run along on their own. Like, give them the extra couple of weeks. Like, I just don't think they need anything to do with the Lee McCarthy. I just don't think they need anything to do with the Lee McCarthy.
Yeah.
Let them celebrate what they've achieved. Let them enjoy the week. Let them enjoy the fortnight, and then they go back to their clubs. That's another thing. Sorry, they're holding lads back from their clubs for an extra period of time. Like, it's mad.
Yeah. It's also the goal. That's their goal for the year. Do you know what I mean? Your goal is achieved or it's not achieved. If it's not achieved, the last thing you want to be doing is playing the next week. Like, Jesus Christ, you're mentally burnt out, let alone physically burnt out. And when you lose, you always feel worse, and your body feels worse or whatever. But I'm not a fan of it.
And again for a player welfare thing, it's an injury risk for no reason. Like, for no reason. Like, just
100%. Yeah. Someone had a question in there asking, where do we think the quarterfinals are going to be? The All-Ireland quarterfinals. It's looking like Páirc Uí Chaoimh anyway, and that it seems to have been an agreement. I think everything has to be played in Páirc Uí Chaoimh at the minute. Rugby, soccer, hurling, football,
concerts.
They'll be wrestling down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Yeah, listen.
I'd
probably go to it.
Yeah, I'd go to it if it was cheaper than the 3 Arena. Jeez.
Oh, stop! Yeah. Madness. We won't get into that. Nisha, just briefly on the Leinster final. It never really got going. There was 7 or 8 minutes there in the second half. We were thinking, oh, maybe there's a comeback on. Now, that's a couple of factors there. Kilkenny are letting teams back into games and giving them sniffs that they shouldn't be giving them. But there was probably a bit of a Galway rally. But it's not in a month of Sunday should that Brian Concannon goal have been let in. You know, they totally switched off. It's probably a nice little stick that Derek Lynn can beat them with. But it was poor fare. There's no point in saying any different. It was poor fare.
Yeah, it's just like, at the end of the day, all you're looking for, like the Cork and Limerick game, all you're looking for is a competitive match, and we didn't get it. Like, it was like 2 out of 3 of the matches brilliant for hurling, like just insane Munster final. Brilliant to see Kildare win the Joe MacDonagh, like, just from all the work, and they've been up and down and right at the door, and they finally kick it down. They've pushed back into the Leinster Championship, but then you're kind of going, like, not for the first time, just let down, and you're going, it's like more, right, because there's nothing worse, like, just as someone watching matches, like, right, there's nothing worse than with 20 minutes to go, 25 minutes to go, you're like, right, this is over, and it's just, I don't know what it is with Galway, like, it just some kind of a mental thing, obviously, like, that they just, like, how long are they in the Leinster Championship now, and they've won it 3 times or so, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is about coming up against Kilkenny, and they just cannot get the job done.
Is it, Nisha, when I look back at it and think the 2020 Leinster final, the day Richie Hogan scored that outrageous goal, Galway were in a really good spot before that. You look back to 2023, like, if it hadn't been for a stray boot kicking the ball out where it never should have been kicked, and Killian Buckley getting that goal, they'd probably win that as well. Does that just kind of build up, particularly that 2023 one, and you're thinking, is it just hanging over them? Because Kilkenny do have it over Galway, largely since they entered Leinster, but particularly in the last 5-6 years.
Well, see, because the thing with them, with 2020 and 2023 especially, would have been at the time, like, people thinking, oh, Kilkenny aren't great, this is the time to beat them, and then they still can't do it, and you're going, that no matter what, like, it's like, they were there to be beaten. Like especially that, like Killian Buckley's goal, like, that was madness. Like, that was brilliant to watch because it was so exciting, and it came right down to the wire, and it's everything you want, like a last second goal to win a final, brilliant, blah blah blah. But, like, from a Galway point of view, like, just get it, run out with it, and drive it then when you get a chance rather than just booting it. It goes anywhere. It goes right to Killian Buckley, where it's like a bit of experience, or like what Graham Souness is saying in soccer, a bit of nous. Like, rise it, run the couple of steps towards the sideline and hit it. Like, don't just throw a leg at it, because it literally could go anywhere, and it went right into Killian Buckley's hand. So it's a mix of things. It's
I wonder would Henry Shefflin's reign with Galway have been different if they'd won that game? Completely different, potentially.
You would think so, like, because he can always look back and say, even if they didn't win all, you always turn around and go, yeah, but we won Leinster.
And they would have got a bounce off it. Of course, they would have, wouldn't they?
You would think so. And even Shefflin himself would have been, obviously because of the handshake thing and all that, like all that stuff going on. And, you'd imagine he'd have been bouncing back into the dressing room going, we are going to...
Where's Cody?
Yeah. Take me hand now, all this kind of stuff. Like
going up to the stand to try and find him.
yeah, like that, and it would have added to it as well, like from a storytelling point of view and all that kind of stuff, and the drama. But yeah, it was just such a kick in the stones, like for Galway, that, like, kicking the slitter directly into Killian Buckley's hand. Like, it's just, I don't know, they just continuously seem to let people down, like, where you're kind of getting excited about them. You're kind of going, God, they looked impressive that day. And like, how many times did I say you couldn't imagine they'd be as bad as they were the first day against Kilkenny, and then they were.
Yeah.
Like, where you're going. And some lads you'd be expecting that Croke Park would suit them, and that they'd stand up and be kind of leaders, and that thing that Gillan does when the team is under pressure, put your hand up and look for it, and they just didn't do it. They're way too reliant on Cathal Mannion. If he's not getting 15, 16 points, like, they're not going to win matches, like, which is at intercounty level. It's you cannot expect someone to do that.
Are we finally starting to, like, is like Canning's retirement really starting to come home to roost now? Like, in fairness, in the last few years of his career, he was almost carrying them on his back to a point, and to me he hit another level, as in he got so consistent that nearly, before maybe the very end where he picked up a couple of knocks that kind of hurt him, I would say. Even though, do you know what? Even in his very last game against Waterford, when Waterford were wiping them out, I thought he dragged them back into it. And now they don't have anybody that they can rely on, I'd say, from 8 up that will do that, or someone that you can plant ball down on top of. Maybe that's only really coming home to roost now, because maybe we thought Conor Whelan would do it. Maybe we thought other lads would do it, and it's just not materialising. Don't know if Nisha is still there. I can't hear him anyway. No, he might be gone for a minute. He'll be back in a second. But just from a Galway point of view in the Leinster final, it was very, very disappointing. It was very much what Galway were like in the past, and I'd say even before Micheál Donoghue came. They mixed the brilliant with the very, very bad. And I just was surprised that they went with containment the other day, and that they just didn't really have a right good hop off Kilkenny and test their pulse and see how good they are. And that's probably what was really most disappointing. If they had, we could have got a real ding-dong battle, and it could have been a really, really interesting game, but we never really got that. And it's fair to say the second half of the MacDonagh final was probably the best part of what we got in Croke Park on Sunday. Fairness to Kildare, like Laois hit an awful lot of wides in the first half. They did 11 wides, 5 short, and missed the goal chance. They should have been up 5 or 6 at half time. They weren't. And then, in fairness, Kildare kicked on in the second half. But Nisha, just on that Galway point, it's just really frustrating. I'd say there's a hell of a lot of frustration going around the county. I'm not a Galway man, and I'm frustrated. It annoys me, and that's the one thing about Kilkenny. In fairness, you could say the quality is not what it was, and it's not. But Jesus, isn't it great to know what you're going to get out of a team nearly every day when they go out and play individual players as well?
That's the thing. They're the polar opposites of each other. There's ultra consistency no matter what, and then inconsistency no matter what.
If Sebo was here, he'd be like, what about the second half of the 2019 Ireland final? It's kind of crack.
Yeah, but whatever,
But in general, you do know, you have a fair idea 99% of the time what you're going to get. And that's, to me, that's one of the qualities or the characteristics that should be held most in any team, particularly if the same level of star power that was there 10 years ago is not there now.
Yeah, exactly. That they're all, they're all going to toe the line. They're all going to do the work. They're all going to be. It's like the first and foremost thing of every team should be, we're going to be hard to beat. The other team isn't going to get anything easy. We're going to chase. We're going to get the breaks. We're going to, the stuff that kind of goes, like apart from the like flashy kind of stuff, the ball winning, the kind of, the scoring over your shoulder, that kind of stuff. What's the consistent stuff, right? Surround them on the breaks, win the rucks, chase and tackle and block and hook, and then the rest of the stuff will take care of itself, because that's the kind of 75 to 85% of the match that goes like kind of nearly unseen, and then the
Yeah.
other 15 to 20% is the skill, the flash, the flair, and the class. Like, so it's like you're always going to get that, and then that's probably what 2019 with Kilkenny and Tip was like. That Tip were just classier, and then fought and stayed with them, and fought and stayed with them, and then opened the gap, like, obviously, and then obviously with the foot, with the red card, etc., etc. But yeah, look, it's just it's and even like I'm from Kilkenny, whatever, but like Galway, Wexford, Offaly add to the Leinster Championship. Dublin as well. We need them being strong. We need them being consistent. Like, that's what we want. Like, we don't want Galway petering out of games. We don't want Wexford being finished, before the knockout stages. We like I loved growing up when it was like knockout or whatever, and there'd be a double header or Leinster semi-finals or whatever in Croke Park, and the place would be packed with people, and it was like Wexford, Kilkenny, Offaly, and Laois, like, or whatever it was, and it was brilliant. But like, just it's been too long since we've had that. Like, I know Wexford under Davy, when they won Leinster, like, and being in at that Leinster final was absolutely brilliant.
Savage, yeah.
60,000 people at it. Like, but this is the thing, is like, we need Wexford back at that level, and that's not Kilkenny's fault.
Yeah. There's a comment in there. Is that the only time Galway heard the last day was when they were 12 points down, and that's probably because the Cats pulled up. There's a lot of Galway remind me of McElroy before winning Augusta, that when it looked like his chance was lost in majors, he all of a sudden he started to play real free, and he'd make this unbelievable run, but it would always kind of be too little too late. And I don't know, Galway seem to do their best stuff when they did their best stuff the other day anyway, when the game was up. It would have been interesting. It's gas, like TJ caught a ball when a ball needed to be caught when there were 4 up, and Hugh Lawler caught a ball and ran about 80 yards with it, when, like, to me, like, that's pure leadership and pure class when it needs to be done. And give me those type of lads, rather than, I've always said it, and the lads that'll put you 20 points up when you're 15 up, when you're playing unreal and you're like, no good. When you need lads to win, when you need lads to win a ball and do something to alter the course of the game, when lads step up, that's a big difference. But just quickly, Nisha, on Kildare, conditioning wise, age profile wise, speed, pace, power. Like, I know, and I do think I do think the Leinster Championship is perfect for them, in the sense that, let's call a spade a spade. It's not as cutthroat as Munster. You might get blown away in a couple of games, but they'll come into Leinster and they'll fancy their chances in a couple of games. And even if they can stay up, you'd imagine they grow and grow and grow. But there's a lot of things on their side.
Oh, big time, big time. And like, this is again why my argument kind of at the start of the year, and even when Stape was on, as far as hurling development goes and all, this is why I think there's room for one extra team in the Leinster Championship, because like, Kildare go up, and if they stay up, you're talking about probably relegating Offaly. And then you're going, God, they're gone back again. Like, we're like, geez, come on, we want them progressing, like I was saying. So yeah, they're definitely cut out to make a push now. And this is the kind of real injection kind of that they needed, I think. And for hurling in the county as well. That you kind of go, no, here, lads, look, we are at the top table now. It's not just a case of like, yeah, we'll win the Christy Ring every second year and this kind of stuff. And yeah, look, you could win a trophy. And you'll start seeing lads, I think, that may have maybe left the hurling going to football, maybe now might thinking, you know what, there's a better prospect of really getting the most out of myself on the hurling side, which is what hurling wants and what hurling needs. And Kildare is definitely big enough and has a population big enough to do both at a high level. So, and it's not only Naas. This is another thing. It's not only Naas.
Yeah.
People outside the county think like, oh, this is because Naas go to Kilkenny and play in Dublin as well underage. It's not only Naas, lads. Look at the programme. It's like Selbridge fellas.
Minute.
Minute. Sorry, that was it. Yeah. So it is growing, and there's definitely room for more stronger hurling clubs because like the population in Kildare is blowing up. So there's huge potential in Kildare. They're kind of like the new age Dublin, like if that makes sense. Like remember like about kind of 20 years ago.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Brian Dowling and Richie Root.
Hurlers of all ages.
Yeah. Brian Dowling and Richie Root are proud to introduce to you. Yeah. But like they are set up nicely because Offaly, you were kind of saying Offaly are set up nicely as well, but their age profile might be that bit young. But like you were kind of alluding to there, Kildare's age profile is better suited to senior hurling and physical development and stuff. What we saw, now probably because Antrim were a bit of a shambles really, but we saw Offaly were able to stay up in it. This is why I think the Dublin and Kildare game like could be very, very intriguing. What's the spread in that game again? Did you tell me?
12.
Yeah. Again, just judging the hangovers, etc. I think 12 is a big one. If it was an even keel, I think next year going into Leinster Championship, I don't think the spread would or should be 12 for that game.
7 or something like that. I would say.
Yeah. I think that's now again. It's probably taken into account the fact that they're going to be on the beer and drinking away probably till
James Burke was carried off at the end as well, which is a worry. That's a big worry now.
Huge loss.
They've kind of reinvented him out the pitch a small bit more. He's not maybe the go-to man in attack. They have more attackers maybe than they had a couple of years ago, but he would be a big loss. One lad I didn't mention, Team Bourne at 6, so good. I just thought the ball was stuck to him. It was stuck to him. He was definitely my man in the match. Anyway, he was absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Every time I looked up and the ball was anywhere from midfield back, he was the one hoovering it up and picking it up. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And he was picking up Tomas Keys, who was probably Laois's best player. And he never really got a shot away from, might got 1 or 2 shots away from play, but didn't score from play anyway. But Laois, the other, just to put a bow on Kildare and all that, he's doing it through an unusual route, coming from All-Ireland camogie wins and going down the tiers. But Jesus, Brian Dowling has cut something. Like, it's not just cutting a CV out for yourself. Like, his hand is up surely whenever that Kilkenny senior job comes, you'd imagine. Like, to be right in the mix.
From the outside looking in, you'd say, yeah, but you see, someone put it to me, another coach in Kilkenny said to me one time, not about Brian Dowling now, but about somebody else. He just goes, well, he's outside the tent. And I kind of went, oh, right, okay. That there's a kind of a thing of you stay in here, you take the minors, you take the 20s.
It's the same as Kerry, yeah. It's the very same as Kerry, yeah.
Yeah. But like, Brian's been doing it with Kieran's, did it with the Kilkenny camogie, now he's doing it with Kildare. Richie Root with him as well, obviously from Thurles. He's been doing brilliantly. Like, it's as good a track record as you're going to have. I just think like that. And you don't too often see it that when somebody does take a camogie team that they do then have success with the men. So he's doing brilliantly. Like it was a
great weekend on that front because Donald Duck O'Rourke was the Waterford camogie manager, and that was the first, I don't like saying head coach, but he's the lead coach, first outside lead coach of the Cork senior hurling team, and they won the Munster obviously the other day and winning the league. So there's 2 lads that have taken probably fairly alternative routes to where they are at the minute.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that actually, but because Brian, like he'd be very good friends with my brother Cian, and actually Richie Root was in the wedding party for Nicky Kenny, who was playing for Cavan then for the Laurie Mar. Good old crack, Richie. But like it's as good because like Brian is a real interesting story then as well. I saw a clip of him talking. I think he was on off the ball talking too. Like when we were young, like when my father was a selector with the minors, Brian was in with the minors, and like we were all about him. Like we thought he was right lad. Like we thought I was about 11 or 12 at the time, And I remember going and he scoring a winner in the winning point in the league final against Cork.
Or two, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was gone off the senior panel when he was 20, but then won starting corner forward on an All-Ireland winning under-21 team and just never went back in. And I think he was finished hurling with O'Loughlin's by the time he was 30. Like now, as in, like he played in the club All-Ireland with him, but I think they stopped picking him by the time he was 30. Somewhere around that, like where you're kind of going, that's a bit, like no one's path is linear, you know, they say in Irish, like his father and Boher gone Costa down, like literally, you know, it's a long road that doesn't have a turn. So his hurling life has had an awful lot of turns, and you know, it just goes to show you just keep sticking to your principles, working hard at what you're doing, keeping the head down. Like, you know, he's teaching and Kieran's doing a great job with them, obviously with the you know, with the secondary school team. So yeah, it's brilliant form. It's brilliant form. It's great to see.
And you know what? It's a fella like that who's had a load of personal setbacks in his own career, a lot more primed, shall we say, to deal with what you have to deal with in management, like giving lads bad news, taking lad aside and telling him whatever he needs to do or whatever, and knowing the psychology of it. I chatted to him there for an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I could tell by him that he loves the one-to-one stuff.
Yeah.
And I tell you why, because he didn't get any himself.
He never got it.
Yeah, and the last thing, and listen, Ashton, we all have tales of woe with different managers, and a lot of, like, if I do a bit of managing now and a bit of coaching, and you just want to make sure that all the really bad stuff that happened to you doesn't happen to anybody under your watch, and you try to avoid that and know that certain lads are feeling left out because they weren't picked, or you know what I mean, and you pick up on things because you were in that position. Whereas I often find the unbelievable hurlers that things came to them a bit easier. They were always picked. They were never dropped. They were always the main man. I think that's harder to be in that position because you don't understand a lot of people within your squad. That's my own 2 cents on it anyway. But Nisha, before you go, and I'd love to get viewer comments in here, we're going to pick our Mount Rushmore of hurling. Okay, so this is players. This is from, we'd say from, you know, as far back as we can go, and we both like our history of hurling. So we'll go fairly far back. Hurlers, managers, coaches, whatever it is, the 4 people who have had the greatest impact on the game in the history of the game. And I'm not going to go back and go to Thomas Cusack or someone that was in Hayes' hotel now. I think that's going back a bit
Michael
too far.
Cusack.
Yeah, sorry, Michael Cusack. I think that's going back a little bit too far. But definitely some of the legends that we would have been brought up on, maybe didn't see them in the flesh or anything like that, and maybe we're only relying on video. But where do you start on this now? Like, immediately when I come to you and say, you know, when you think of hurling, who are the top 2 people that come to your head?
So right. My 4 favourites, right? When I was growing up, my 4 favourites who I used to go out and pretend to be in the garden, right? This would be my Mount Rushmore of favourite hurlers, right? John Troy, Paul Flynn, Fergal Hartley, and DJ Carey, right? They were my 4, and I was lucky enough now I got to play with Fergal in 2 county finals, and just a legend, an absolute legend, right? Just, I think one of the most criminally underrated centre backs that we ever saw. Unbelievable in the air and as hard as nails and a serious hurler. And I only was hurling with him when he was in his kind of mid to late 30s. He used to be pedaling the stationary bike on the sideline, but then be able to play the matches, and he was
boy, that's how he kept fit.
Yeah, but he was brilliant. Like, anyway, but you think about it's so hard to pick 4 because, well, the man obviously has to be on it who gave this quote: "Let us not say the best hurlers belong to the past. They're here with us now and better yet to come." It was Christy Ring, right? So Christy Ring has to be on it, right?
I think I obviously never saw him in the flesh, but Jesus, it's absolutely non-negotiable.
Yeah.
That he's
look
in
at
there.
Did you ever look at the documentary TG Carr did?
So good.
Ringing.
So good.
Myself and 2 of my friends, we quote it all the time, all the time. I watched it when I fractured my skull and I was in the hospital in CUH. I got my mother to bring it down on DVD. I watched it every single day, probably twice a day when I was in the room. But anyway,
Just
Christy
on that,
Ring.
I went to college with Tommy Walsh's younger brother Martin, and hit one of his party pieces.
JFK.
Yeah. One of his party pieces after was, that for lifting and striking and absolute the bowl Christy Ring to the to the bowl Teddy Quill to the melody of that, but I like it's late 70s when he passed away, I think, and we're still the legend of Ring is still as big as it ever was, isn't it? And he's still talked about as much as he ever was.
But and then there's a competition named after him and all that kind of stuff, rightly so. Like they're there's 2 statues of him, just anywhere, and the way Klein have the tier and all that kind of stuff. Anywhere, this is the thing, like your man says on the DVD as well, is what was it? Jack Lynch said at his funeral, wherever young fellas swing their come on and feel the tingle of ash upon leather, and you're kind of going, the story of Christy Ring will be told, and you're like, God, he's right. You'd still say it, and even when I was in America, the Americans know who he was, and know. But anyway, look. So
and the whole the thing that he was able to hit the doorbell from 50 yards back, and there's a little hole in the wall. I think it was hard, and he was able to get the ball through it. But not being smart, how many people heard that or that was passed on to them, and then we're trying to do something like that?
I used to do it all the time.
Some are obscure in their own house or their own gable or their own shed or whatever. So Ring is non-negotiable. Ring is on there, and don't anybody say that we hate Cork, because we love Christy Ring.
We love the myth.
Catherine Coughlin says Brian Cody, obviously the most successful manager in the history of the game. Where would you, and to be fair, and as well as that, an unbelievable promoter of the game, an unbelievable lover of the game, and going to places and doing things and not looking for anything for it, and just doing it for the good of the game and the benefit of the game. And I have to say, I've always found with Kilkenny people that's been a general theme, that they're just happy to be somewhere and present medals, and they're not looking for anything for it. And it's kind of not that they're not looking for anything for it, but it's kind of just a thing that it's accepted that they do, and they're so happy to do it almost. Do you know what I mean? But where would you fall on Cody? He's if he's not on it, he's close to it.
Yeah, because I actually hadn't even thought of managers. I was only thinking of players when you said it, and I was going, God, cut it down to players. But if you think about it, because the next lad I was going to say is has to be Henry Shefflin. Just Shefflin has to be on it as well. It's Ring, first lad to get 8 on the field of play. Shefflin has 10 on the field of play. So you're those 2 are non-negotiables. So 2 of the 4 spots are gone, right? And then
I think now, right? I think you can only have one Kilkenny on it. I don't think you can have. I don't think you can, to be fair to balance and to be fair to everything.
Okay.
And you also just say with Shefflin and Cody, I think you can only pick one of them because their careers obviously completely overlapped as well, and it's the same achievements, if you get me, for the 2 of them, apart from the personal accolades, shall we say?
Yeah. So then I'd probably go with Shefflin there, again, because I'd favour the player rather than the manager, if that makes sense. Even though they won without Shefflin as well. With Cody as the manager, they still won. And then even when people were giving out and complaining and saying, oh God, they won't develop and all that, they still kept winning Leinster and still kept getting to All-Ireland finals. And they beat Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final. They beat Clare in an All-Ireland semi-final. So yeah, that's a kind of a toss-up one where I'm just going to pick Shefflin just because he's the player and he embodied everything that team was about. You think of the 2012, was it, Galway final, when it looked like Galway were going to pull away, and in the second half, again, this is one of them games, I was at it, and I just remember Shefflin being a magnet to the slitter, and talk about grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck.
I'm gonna have to go and look at it back because I remembered exactly like that. I wonder is it exactly as I remembered it?
Don't watch it back. I watched it back. I watched it back during COVID, I think, and I watched it back one time when I was living in America. I just had free time. I said, I'll watch this.
It's not what you remembered.
No, because you have to feel it. I think you had to be there to feel it. and like the bows and the roaring and the winning the freeze, because that was the game. Yeah, that was the game. He had the penalty at the end, and he put it over the bar, and you're going, what a man! Like, and trots out, we're taking the replay, and we're going to we'll beat you in the replay kind of thing. You're going, Jesus, like he just even for that alone, and then the fact that he was the bridge from DJ as well, and all this kind of stuff, like. So yeah, no, I just Shefflin. I'll just go with Shefflin. Yeah.
Obviously, Cody's career spanned a ridiculous amount of time, the guts of a quarter of a century, which is absolutely crazy. And then we'd forget about his playing achievements. All Ireland winning captain, Club All Ireland's obviously as well. But I think Ring and Shefflin are two good starts. Where do we go from here? Just from Mick Mackey, definitely deserves a mention. Eugene Lanigan says Mick Mackey, Munster trophy named after him.
Didn't he invent the solar run, sure?
That's what they say, yeah. That's what they say.
Like, you talk about this, the thing is, like, you talk about the impact on the game, right? And it's like changing the game. Well, an innovator, like, you know, they always use this in like wrestling as well, right? And then I'm listening to a podcast at the minute about Sabu. So anyway, an innovator, Mick Mackey, like, again, Munster Championship is named after him. And if you're talking about one person from each county, I think you'd have to have Mick Mackey on it as well. I think you do.
Do we? I mean this with the best respect. Do we have enough intel on him compared to Ring or Shefflin? If you get me. So this is is it a bit more? Oh, we heard he was great.
So this is the thing, is like you're kind of relying on hyperbolic news articles and the aura and the myth of what Mick Mackey was,
and the picture of him doing umpire, looking over, what the sling and that type of thing.
So like this is the thing, is like even Christy Ring kind of obviously had enough, you know, of like respect and admiration for him that you're kind of going, well, he must have done something right. And like, think about it, right? You talk about that period of time of playing. Who else? What's the other name?
John Doyle, Jimmy Doyle in around then as well, 60s.
Is it, yeah?
Anyway. Yeah.
So go on. Anyway, so I'd say Mick Mackey. Anyway, I'll say Mick Mackey just because of the innovation of the solar run. I think it's just because he changed the game all of a sudden, and that was the thing that they all say, like that he revolutionised hurling in a way that nobody else had thought of doing it. That it changed.
Okay, just a quick one. I said we couldn't have more than one from Kilkenny, and I don't think we can. But when you think about it, like Cody, Shefflin, even I didn't really see enough of Care, but I heard enough about TJ, Tommy, JJ. Do you know what I mean? Like just DJ, Jesus Christ, like there's some amount of like ridiculous. You know, if Mount Rushmore is 10, like if you're talking about the top 10, like there's probably 4 or 5 of them in it. Do you know what I mean? Just someone that I did mention, and he's obviously from my own county as well. But like what Brian Wheelaton did throughout the course of his playing career is like in 1989, Brian Wheelaton played in All-Ireland semi-finals at minor, under 21 and senior. I think outside of 95 All-Ireland, the first he won man of the match in the 94 All-Ireland senior final. He won man of the match in the 95 All-Ireland hurling club final replay. He won man of the match in the 98 All-Ireland senior hurling final. He won man of the match in the 2002 All-Ireland club final. Like talk about doing your talking on the biggest occasion. He always did it. And obviously he was the only modern day player. DJ wasn't on it, but Brian Whelan was the only modern day player selected on the team in Millennium, and still referred to as the Millennium Man around town. He still is. Like if you ever wanted to be a wrestler or anything like that, like you don't
Mr. Millennium, Brian Whelan.
You don't need to look too much further, to be fair. Jesus Christ, he was unbelievable, and it was such a joy to see him in club training and in stuff he did in matches and stuff like that. He did it. I don't remember anybody else doing it. I don't remember anyone else doing it before. Since he did the hurl at full length, ball at his boot, flick the ball up into his hand one. Like he was. I don't remember anybody doing it before, and I don't remember anybody doing it since. And to me, only JJ Delaney is a better defender that I have seen in my like. I ain't talking about all-out defender, hook and blocking, reading a ball, shadowing a fella. He was unbelievable. I don't know if you saw the Phantom Hook. If you've ever seen the Phantom Hook near the end of 95 All-Ireland, where Oh, I'm not 100% sure who's hooked, but Brian Whelan is not in the picture when whoever it is, the Clare forward, is going to strike it, and he gets the toe of the hurl in and hooks him about an inch before the ball. It was probably the greatest. It was like Jimmy Barry's goal, that it was too fast to catch on camera. This was literally that happened that fast that he wasn't caught on camera. I understand that it's going to be hard for him to be in, the top four, but he deserves an unbelievable mention.
Yeah, and he did play. He was sick during the 98 final.
He scored 1-6.
Started in the back and went up into the forwards. Yeah.
And ended up with man of the match the same day as well.
Yeah, like Brian Whelan's a great shout. Like, see, obviously we're only sticking to one person from Kilkenny, but like, defining greatness like that, Brian Whelan is that. Tommy Walsh is that. JJ Laney was that. That's greatness. Like, it's them lads, right? And then talking about like impact on the game and changing the game and innovating the game. The records in Wexford then as well, brought in, they say, according to lore, the aerial catching the ball in the air, that it used to be brought down or doubled on before, and that it actually even pissed off Christy Ring to a point where he was saying, "That's not hurling, boy." That it was that the ball shouldn't be caught in the air, but the records then were so physical and big and dominant that it was the aerial ability. But again, I didn't see enough of them. It's the storytelling, it's the folklore and all that kind of stuff. But they, just as far as like innovation, changing the game, etc., similar to Mick Mackey, they're on that similar status, I would say. And again, from Wexford, winning all Irelands and things, like, they don't grow on trees, like so. But yeah, no. So I'd go. Because I love Brian Whelan as well. Like, I love that Offaly team, because again, it was at the right age for me.
Hey, I've no issue with Brian Whelan winning this for absolutely zero.
Yeah, no, because his case is as good as anyone's. Like, this is the thing. Like, and if we're sticking to one from a county, right, you can't go again. And then, like, it's funny as well. Like, you're kind of talking, like, you're not even saying Joe Canning. Like, we haven't even spoken about Joe Canning yet. Where, like my God, like, somebody here keeps saying to me, like, he's the most overrated hurler that ever lived or whatever, and you're just like, I immediately stop the conversation when I hear this. Like, I'm just like, you know nothing about hurling.
There's no point in there's no point in debating somebody like that. So, really,
right? I'll go my four then. Like, right,
hey, hold on a second now. Just want to chat to you about a few. We haven't talked Tipperary yet. Jesus, the uproar.
No point.
Who are the top in the conversation here? Talking John Doyle, Jimmy Doyle. I would say from a playing career and personality wise, Nicky, and I'd say Babs would probably kind of be mentioned in that respect as well. Owen Kelly, to me, if you were going for someone from Tip, to me he'd be top of the pops, to be honest with you. I just thought he was unbelievable. Jeez, he was class. And even like if you're looking for the little Kilkenny swing, like he went to Kieran's as well, like so.
yeah, that's the thing, is like, again, Tip, it's kind of similar to Kilkenny, but not as many All Irelands. Where there's a long list of fellas you could put on it, but like you'd kind of have to ask somebody from. I'd say someone from Tip would be better judged, like at a certain age as well, where like, you'd be kind of going. Some people would hold Jimmy Doyle obviously at a far higher stat. Like, when I was growing up, people it's always say like, oh well, he'll never compare to Eddie Kerr, and you're kind of going, Eddie Kerr is just like, but DJ's already better than him, kind of. So it's but like, again, growing up at my age, it was like you're always, and again, some people probably say John Lahey, but yeah, for my age, you're probably talking Nicky English or Owen Kelly.
Yeah, come here, a quick one for you. He's obviously in the midst of his career. Does Cian Lynch get closer to this?
Yes.
Like by the time he's finished, like he's in the conversation now. And if we're talking about personalities or managers, John Kiley is in the conversation as well for achieving something that had never been done outside of one of the big three before. And like even that 16-0 in finals going into last weekend is just absolutely crazy. Like it's insane, really. For a county that had lost 5 All-Irelands between 73 and 2018, and then he comes in and he doesn't lose a final between 2018 and 2025. That's absolutely insane. It is insane, really.
Yeah. Sambo as well from Antrim too. What they did, that team they got to an All-Ireland final, weren't far off another one or two, in the early 90s, 89, I was born in 89 in August, and everyone always, my godfather always says, you'll always be associated with Antrim making the final. It's just like, right, grand.
Yeah. I actually just their winning goal came up as a clip last night.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. And just to see, I sent it on to Sambo after, just because I'd be chatting him up and down a small bit. Like, I can't imagine. I'm sure, I'd say they get some rush of adrenaline every time they see or hear or someone mentions it to them, because it was unbelievable.
Just, like, you're literally living out your dreams. The reason you pick up the hurl is like, this is what you're doing. Like, this is what you do. And this is why Mount Rushmore is always so kind of finicky, and should be this lad, should be that lad, whereas like Kilkenny could have its own Mount Rushmore, Cork could, Tip could, Galway could.
Do you know what's really interesting, Nisha, is if I was picking my personal 4 and you were picking your personal 4, they're different. They're your favourites. And you have certain players that you just have an unbelievable affinity to, or you follow the team at a certain time and he was your god. Like, do you know what I mean?
Or like when you can just say one name and everyone knows exactly who it is.
Yeah.
Where I could go Ring, Shefflin, Tommy, and DJ, and you're like, yeah. Or and then another lad. So this is things like in 10, 15 years time, everyone will be like, Cian Lynch has to be on it. Cian Lynch, he has to be on it. TJ Reid has to be on it. You cannot, so that's the thing, that's why the Ring quote was always so great, I always think. But Ring, Shefflin, Brian Whelan,
Mick Mackey.
And let Mick Mackey, I think.
We've really given a nod to history there now, in fairness. We can't be accused of recency bias anyway. No player from, well, in fairness, Shefflin finished in 14. No player at the last 10 years on it. Like, to me now, I'll be straight with you. TJ is very close for me now, and to me he's getting closer the longer he plays nearly.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is like the one little thing is like, because their careers aren't over. We haven't seen their history yet, so it's still going. But like TJ, I remember even after it was Brian Dowling actually I was talking to about this. We were drinking in a pub in Dublin after, myself, my brother, somebody else, and Brian Dowling, and it was after Kilkenny had won a Leinster, I think it was, and God, when was that? Anyway, doesn't matter. And he said, don't care what you say, TJ is the best of all of them. He goes, because we said it was a ranking thing, DJ, Shefflin, TJ. And I said, well, because it just might, and he says, I don't care what you're going to say, it has to be TJ Reid. And this is now 8 years ago, I'd say, at this stage, 7 or 8 years ago anyway, it's a while. And because I was saying, no, DJ will always be top for me, no matter what. He'll always be top for me, because like when we were growing up, like he was a god and he revolutionized hurling. I just thought like changed the swing, the speed, everything, that the kind of anyway. But yeah,
I had a DJ video. There was a video release 20-something years ago, and it was brilliant. He used to have a DJ. It was the DJ Carey School of Excellence, I think. It's like a hurling school. He used to have a couple of boys from Borough still have the green and white jerseys actually from there. They still fit them now, which is an indictment of their lack of growing physique compared to when they were 14-year-olds. But yeah, like obviously whatever.
That was the style back then as well, the big massive jerseys as well.
That's right, yeah. There was some air of excitement when he got the ball and when he took his 13 steps or whatever he did.
Nothing like it. He was like, again, like him and Charlie Carter were the first lads I ever noticed catching the sliotar with both hands. And then DJ, even though he was small, so good in the air, how accurate he was at frees, like slinging hand passes, like left side, right side at full speed. He could do it all. Jeez, he could do it all.
A couple of players that we didn't mention is obviously one of the best of the recent era, of the current era. Tony Kelly's definitely another one. And talking about like moments of magic and moments of brilliance that will never be forgotten. That sideline at the end of the 2022 Munster final, that goal and his performance in the last 50 minutes of last year's All-Ireland final as a captain to lead them up the steps. I'd say, like, we're talking about players and personalities. Milan, like what he did in his playing career. Ken McGrath, Big Dan. Who else do you think? We didn't mention Lara Corbett, even from a Tipperary point of view. Like, he scored a hat-trick in an All-Ireland final. He scored 4-4 from play in a Munster final, like, you know what I mean, in 11. When he was hot there for a couple of years, like, he was like Hansel in Zoolander. He's so hot right now. He was just impossible. Like, it was literally impossible to mark. What are we stumping for here? Christy Ring, Henry Shefflin, Mick Mackey, and Brian Whelan.
Yeah, 2 Munster, 2 Leinster.
It's a fair Mount Rushmore.
It is, like, and like, yeah, I just think their body of work. I don't think, because obviously, right, there's better players now than there was 50 years ago, than there was 20 years ago. But era defining people, I think them 4 are their era defining. They define those eras, I think.
Yeah, just the comment. There's a comment in there. I might just get it up on screen. It's the most recent comment in, talking about the last 10 years. He just said, you could argue that hurling has never been as skillful as the last 10 years. So picking anyone from before that is just nostalgia. Hurling just keeps getting better. Soon Cian Lynch will look average. I doubt that. But I have not, like, are you telling me that Brian Whelan wouldn't have adapted to modern hurling? Of course he would. They would have. They'd be as good, if not better, than anybody that's there now. Same with Ring, same with Mackey, same with Shefflin, same with any of them. Like, they obviously stood out in their own eras. They would have stood out in any era. Like, Brian Whelan, his trademark is, you know, picking a ball, dinking out, and maybe delivering it 80 yards. He just delivered 40 or 50 into someone's mouth now. Do you know what I mean? He just adapt with the times. Like, you have all the tools. You just played it as it was played then. Don't tell me that they wouldn't still be the best hurlers now, because they would be.
And the thing as well is, like, they were so far ahead at their time.
Yeah.
Lads are always like, if there's no Ring, there's no Kerr. If there's no Kerr, there's no DJ. If there's no DJ, there's no Shefflin. And this is why hurling keeps getting better. Like, the point made is right in a way, but also, you know, it goes back to the thing Christy Ring said. It's like, let us not say the best hurlers belong to the past. They're here with us now, and better yet to come. Like, it's like, because the lads looking at Cian Lynch now are going to be copying Cian Lynch growing up, and then that they will be better than Cian Lynch in 20 years' time. Well, you'd hope. Like, same Tony Kelly, like, you know, like, these lads that are doing things where you're like, what the hell? Hurls are better, fitness is better, speed is better, physical conditioning is way better, the fields are way better, the slitters are way better. Like, just everything you want is way better compared to back then. So that's why, like, Ring was so magical, obviously, and no one can ever touch him, is because he was so far ahead when lads were trying to kill people playing hurling.
Yeah. Nisha, a 5-minute Mount Rushmore has turned into the good of about half an hour, but that's the way it goes. Thanks a million for your time, and we'll chat to you soon, all right?
No matter. Good luck.
Good man. Great to have Nisha there, and that went a little bit longer than we expected, but that's what happens when you start going into the gritty, granular detail of hurling and playing, placing lads against different lads from different generations. But we have an absolute belter of a football weekend to look at. A quiet weekend on the hurling front, but probably one of the best weekends of football of the calendar year to look forward to. And delighted to have Adam Moynihan alongside me to talk through it. Adam, you're surely excited for what's to come. Like, 8 games in the All-Ireland series. Stakes are very, very big. 4 Tailteann Cup quarterfinals as well. Belter of a weekend ahead.
Hopefully it's going to be magic, but sure, it's the best competition in the world now. The round robin series is making it. It's better than the Champions League. But I know it's brilliant. Sure, you couldn't but look forward to it. I think, obviously, when there's, like, simultaneous games and teams don't know what's going on, or keeping an eye on the other game or keeping an ear out for the other game, that adds a different element to it as well. So yeah, like you said, 8 games, top 16 teams in the country, and 15. Well, the only team that doesn't have something to play for are Armagh, and it's not because they're out; it's because they're through to the next round. So 15 teams something to play for. It's just probably couldn't have worked out any better from a football point of view.
Yeah, you've mentioned that Armagh group, one of two kind of groups of death. We'll fly through that real quickly. So Armagh have a chance to knock out Galway, or at least potentially knock out Galway, depending on how other results go. It's just the thing in me, no matter how much they say we're going to go for this game, that it's just in their psyche that we're through already, and they won't risk anybody that has any kind of knocks. And that's probably 2 to 3 lads, because that's just the nature of it from week to week, that lads are carrying something. They might look at maybe giving Rian O'Neill training them hard for a couple of weeks rather than getting another game in. How do you see this going? And even from a Galway point of view, if Galway are beaten here and knocked out, it's potentially Pádraig Joyce's last game in charge, you'd imagine, because they want an All-Ireland, and anything less will be seen as failure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think conventional wisdom would kind of dictate that when a team doesn't have something to play for, you're right. Like, even if they do go for it, something will happen in the game. Maybe it might be a moment where Galway might get up a couple of points, and then it might kick in then that you're like, oh, sure, we're already fine. Like, we'll be grand here. We don't need to push it. You might have certain guys thinking, like, obviously there's lots of competition for places in the Armagh squad, but maybe some of the big guys might be going, geez, I'm not risking getting hurt here, you know, when we've got a quarter final a couple of weeks time. So I think that might come into it as well. But I don't know, there's something about, if it was anyone else, but I think Armagh just had this dogged mentality. They will. I've no doubt that they'll be in a dressing room before the game going, like, we're going to beat these guys. Like, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're going to put everything on the line. I think you're right. Like, with the kind of the voice in the back of your head going, like, geez, I don't want to, like, there's no point killing ourselves here. But having said that, like, Galway haven't overly, you know, they haven't set the world alight really either. So I might bring up the group there actually just to take a look at it. So this is the state of play in Group 4. Armagh are obviously through, as we said, on 4 points. Dublin, Galway and Derry are fighting out for second and third. I don't know how you feel about Dublin and Derry as well. It's probably hard enough to call. Derry had their chance against Galway. Maybe should have won that game. Then, you know, obviously they snatched a draw at the end to keep themselves alive. Do you know, obviously both games are dependent on each other. The 3 teams are dependent on the results in the other game as well. But I just have something, like, I think that we'll find out about the Armagh Galway game. I think if after about 45 minutes, if Galway are winning that game, then I think you could see Armagh going, right, look, there's no point going overboard here. But if Armagh are, you know, if Armagh are winning with 20 minutes to go, they might see this as an opportunity to go, right, like, we could bury Galway here, like, and Galway are a contender in spite of everything. If they stay in competition, they are a contender. So you just never know in that situation. Dublin, Derry, like, would you be, I know Dublin are going to be favourites for it, but, like, would you be overly surprised if Derry got something out of that game?
No,
do you know what I mean?
Like, I've seen Derry play in the flesh the last 2 days, and they are nearly at the boil. They were right close to it the last day against Galway. Should have got something out of it. But to me, they're as close now as they've been to, we'll say, winning the Division 1 league final 14 months ago. They're as close to that form. Definitely that form, maybe not the All-Ireland semi-final form from the year before, but they're as close to getting to that as they've been at any stage, I'd say, in the last year or so. And they're getting their big players back in the pitch. Niall Loughlin's back, Lachlan Murray is back. And Conor Glass is playing great stuff. Brendan Rodgers looks fit. Doesn't look like he's carrying any knocks or niggles or anything like that. I think Derry have a brilliant chance. A lot of it will depend on whether Con plays or not, or whether he's fit to play or not, and how fit he can be within that 2 weeks between the Armagh game and now. But they need him on the pitch. He's a game changer for them. I don't think they can be as bad as they were against Armagh again, as in making some of the criminal mistakes that they did and giving away 5 points from technical errors, basically, and the errant shooting or whatever. But I do think Derry are coming right to the boil. I think that could end up in a draw. Dublin and Derry could end up in a draw, and then it'll come down to whether Galway get a result or not against Armagh to see who comes through in second and third. Basically, that's how I see it. I do think Galway will probably get a result against Armagh when push comes to shove, though, because their need is just that bit greater. Yeah, no, I agree with you on Dublin Derry as well. Like Dublin were, geez, I know they've been hot and cold for basically the whole year. I know
obviously got turned over by Meath and came back in and got that good result against Galway. But geez, I thought they were poor against Armagh. Like their kicking was really bad, and like there's enough kind of evidence there over the course of the year to say that they're maybe not consistent enough to be a real force. Like, but like famous last words coming from a Kerryman, they'll probably turn around now and do something. But I wouldn't be surprised if Derry won that game. So if Derry were to win that, they'd get to 3, they'd overtake Dublin and Galway, and then it comes down to Galway and Armagh, as you said. And like I it's just for some reason of all the groups, I can see something funny happening in this one, something like unexpected, and it just wouldn't surprise me if Armagh did it against Galway, and then you're looking at Galway bottom of the table, and one of the All-Ireland favourites from earlier in the year would be out. So it's all to play for in that group, and that's definitely one to keep an eye on those games on Saturday at 6:30, and both of them are on GA+.
Just on that, Adam, as well, the benefit of finishing top, we only have 2 years to go by, but the 2023 All-Ireland winners Dublin finished top of their group, went straight through to a quarter-final. The 2024 All-Ireland winners Armagh finished top of their group, went straight through to a quarter-final, earned that extra week. The best team that have finished second in the 2 years was Galway last year, who came through a preliminary and got to an All-Ireland final. But even like thinking like Sean Kelly only came on the All-Ireland final, there was effects of them going that route, if you get me. And even Walsh, how fit was he? Comer, how fit was he? And the best team that's finished third in the 2 years, in terms of how far they've gotten, was Monaghan in 23 when they got to a semi-final. So like, I'm totally won round by this format, in the sense of I would have thought, you're only getting rid of 4 teams and they're playing 24 games or whatever. So that's absolutely madness. But the effects that it has, the benefits of finishing first, the disadvantages of finishing second and third, there's so much on the line in all these games. You know what I mean? Apart from Armagh, everybody is fighting for something that's really, really tangible. Maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but the week after that, it could come back to haunt them or whatever. So that's what I think is fascinating about this format. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. Like, I am enjoying it this year, and I do think that the like, I think we mentioned it before in the show, but the fact that there's a massive difference between second and third, even like getting a home preliminary quarter final compared to going away to someone, especially this year, it could be massive. Just one difference play. So like, okay, we're still in the competition, but there's a massive challenge ahead of you there if you finish third in the group. So I agree with all that. The only thing I will say about the round robin is that the draw this year, there was 2 stacked groups, and like that does help. If there was an even spread, like you would be saying, maybe all that, like if you separated out the Division 1 teams evenly across the 4 groups, then you might say that, well, those 2 are going to get through first and second, and then maybe there'll be less peril or fewer unknowns. But I am enjoying it. Look, I think we're not going to. I'd say I don't think they're going to keep it. I don't know. It's possible, I suppose, but maybe they're hard to set on this new knockout format or backdoor format. So, and again, I think that'll be fine as well. Do you know what I mean? I think it is an improvement on what was gone before. Just the straight quarter final, semi-final, and final. So, it is very enjoyable. And look, it's probably the most enjoyable day so far is ahead of us, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the other group of death as well. It's all teams on 2 points, which is brilliant. This is Group 1, Donegal on 2. Really healthy scored advantage there, or scoring difference, which will help them. Mayo on 2 points as well, +4. Tyrone also on 2, -4. Cavan on -16. But Mayo obviously played Donegal. This is live on RTE on Sunday. I'm not going to get into no game being live on terrestrial television on Saturday. I think it's an absolute disgrace. I can't believe Dublin and Derry has not been broadcast live on RTE. I can't get my head around it at all. But listen, that's for another day's work. But Mayo, in typical Mayo fashion, if they win, they finish top. If they lose, they finish bottom. It's unbelievable. They couldn't have it any other way.
Exactly. Yeah, no, they're probably delighted up there. They're relishing it. But I think what they think about this group is that Tyrone are playing Cavan, and you'd have to imagine that Tyrone are going to win that game.
Well, they would. When they beat them in Ulster, they beat them well.
Yeah. So like, if that is the case, Tyrone go on to 4 points then, and Cavan are on 2, and then Mayo versus Donegal. Like as you said, if Mayo were to lose that game, they'd be then level on 2 points with Cavan at the bottom. and then Cavan will go through on the head-to-head because they beat Mayo in round 1. And then if Mayo beat Donegal, they'll go to 4 points, be level with Tyrone on 4 points, and then Mayo have the head-to-head with Tyrone, so Mayo will go straight through to the quarters. If that did happen, like, that's probably the most interesting thing that could happen from the Mayo-Donegal game point of view. Donegal would still be safe, so to be Tyrone on 4, Mayo on 4, Donegal on 2, and Cavan on 2, but Donegal would be Cavan, so Donegal would be the third place team in that situation. So
do you think Donegal are going to live to rue that Tyrone game the first day out? Because more than likely they're going the preliminary All-Ireland quarter-final route, and that is not a good route.
Yeah, no, so like, yeah, I think that's definitely a good point. Like, so if let's say even if they beat Mayo, right, they'll go on to 4, and Tyrone more than likely be on 4. Tyrone will have the head-to-head, as you said, so that'll put Donegal into second. Now, the only thing I will say is that if they're in second, they will have a home preliminary quarter-final. And geez, I don't think any team would fancy going up to Ballybuffet in a knockout game to stay in the championship. You know, that's going to be very tough for any team. But absolutely, look, we mentioned already, Armagh are sitting pretty. They're straight through to the quarters. It's no coincidence that as you said, Armagh and Dublin were the last 2 winners of the All-Ireland after going through straight through to the quarters. So they could. I think that they probably, I would fancy them to beat Mayo. That'll put them on 4, so like they won't be in danger of having. I think at the minimum they'll have the home preliminary quarter final. And if I was to pick the group now, I'd say it probably will be Tyrone, Donegal, Cavan, and then Mayo facing elimination.
Yeah, I know Mayo is backs to the walls, and traditionally they've produced their best stuff when they have been. I can't see Donegal losing this. I honestly can't. I think they obviously the big boo-boo the first day out against Tyrone. They bounced back well the last day. I'd be shocked. Genuinely would be shocked if Donegal would. But then you're also taking into fact, you have to take into account the opposition here, and strange things can happen when those green and red jerseys are involved. The other 2 groups are maybe less cutthroat, but they're more teams facing for top of the table or for who's going to come third, but they're no less interesting, in fairness. We'll start off maybe with group 2. Yeah,
if we go to group 2, that's Kerry's group. So the situation is clear enough in this group. Kerry and Meath are fighting it out for first, and then Roscommon and Cork are fighting out to stay.
Are you under pressure, Adam, injury wise?
Supposedly, yeah. Like I think, look, there 4 guys either were injured for the last game or got injured in the last game. So Diarmuid O'Connor missed that game, which is worrying. Like, he's missed a lot of football with a shoulder injury. Jack O'Connor said after the game that it was a groin actually that was bothering, which is, I don't know, is it more or less worrying that he's picking up something else on top of an injury that he already has? But like with Barry Dan as well, Barry Dan O'Sullivan got a bad injury in that Cork game. From what I'm hearing, he won't be playing again this season. And then Paddy Clifford and Paul Ganey. The word is that they're not expected to tog out. It's hard to keep Paddy away from the team. I'd say if he's anyway fit, he'll want to play. But I think the smart move would be for Kerry to keep kind of keep these guys in cotton wool as much as they can. That's not to say that, look, I think Meath are a good team. I think that some people in Kerry are writing Meath off and saying that Kerry will win the game no matter what team they feel. I don't think that's the case. I think Kerry have to still play very well to beat Meath up in Tullamore. But I think that I'd be more worried about, look, obviously Kerry are through to at least a quarter final. If they draw the next day, they'll be straight through to the quarters. I think the worry from Kerry's point of view maybe isn't this match as such. It's getting everyone right for 2 weeks after that and the quarter final, because like we see what teams might end up in the preliminaries. Like, you could have Donegal inside there, you could have a Dublin or a Galway or something like that, and like all of a sudden you're playing a top team in a quarter final. You need all your top guys, so that'll be my concern from Kerry's point of view.
Meath will smell an opportunity to sniff why is a great opportunity here. Just if they were able to get a win and finish top of the group and put Kerry through the preliminary, it's an outside chance, but just obviously particularly with Paddy Clifford missing, and obviously more midfield questions for Kerry now. And it's somewhere Meath are relatively strong. I know Ronan Jones is out injured and is going to be out for the foreseeable. He underwent surgery the other day, but they'll sniff an opportunity there, and it'll be interesting to see if they're able to take it. Down at the other end of the table, Roscommon and Cork, obviously Cork are going to have to win to take that third place. That draw that Roscommon got against Meath, at least there's some sort of a little buffer there. If it does end in a draw, that they will still go through. But like Cork have caused a bit of chaos in the round robin before. Remember they beat Mayo in the last round in 2023, and they took Mayo from being top of that group with Dublin to being third in the group, and having to go and play a preliminary.
It was Kerry's group actually. Kerry finished top. Cork was the favourite.
So like Cork have caused a bit of upheaval before, and they could do it again. That's a difficult game to call. That's a real 50-50 game, to be honest with you. Maybe Roscommon having that bit of form, getting a result against Meath, you'd maybe give them a little bit of credit in the bank, but wouldn't put it past Cork getting a result there. We'll just move on to Group 3, Adam, then. It's a top of the table clash then between Down and Monaghan. They're both fighting it out for the top spot. And then at the bottom of the table, you have Louth and Clare, and the winner, well, even if Louth get a draw, they will go through there based on positive kind of score difference. Would you still be favouring Monaghan kind of against Down marginally?
You'd have to, I suppose, just pedigree alone. Down's done very well obviously so far, but like I thought Monaghan are really impressive in the league, and I just think they have a lot of firepower. I think they've got good forwards there. I would have them as favourites in that game, and you just would. I think Down, like, they'd probably be happy enough with a home preliminary. If it does come to that, that's not a bad run, or it's not a bad backup prize there for them in that game. And then at the other end, geez, you'd have to think that Louth will be clear. Geez, it'd be so disappointing for Louth if they couldn't back up the Leinster final without getting any results. If they lost 3 games in a row after being seeded and everything in the draw, it just would be a very poor turn of events for them. So, and I think to be honest, no disrespect to Clare, but I would expect Louth to have enough for that game.
Yeah, I'd expect Louth to stay alive, and you'd probably, if they can get that bit of momentum back and all the hangover, both literal and figuratively, out of their system, they'd have to still have a good shot at getting to an All-Ireland quarter-final potentially. But just the Tailteann Cup quarter-finals, Adam, really quickly. Kildare and Offaly is, to me, the most interesting one anyway, and it's obviously the second part of a double header with the Kildare and Dublin hurlers in that preliminary All-Ireland quarter-final. I cannot get my head around why there aren't cameras in Newbridge on Saturday night. To me, it makes no sense whatsoever. They're airing what is GA Plus, they're airing a turkey shoot between Tipperary and Laois, the losers of the MacDonagh Cup. They're airing that ahead of airing the MacDonagh Cup winners against the Dublin side that they'll feel to have a chance against. And I think, to me, Kildare and Offaly is the most appetising of the Tailteann Cup quarterfinals as well. So, that's yet another example of a lack of common sense in the GA, but that's a common theme, unfortunately. But we have some deadly games to look forward to, and we'll be back again next Thursday to digest them all and build up to preliminary quarterfinals, and who knows who will be in them. God only knows, but we'll chat about it again next Thursday. Adam, thanks a million for your time. Appreciate it. Good man.
Cheers, Bernie. Thanks.